special because what do we want to do in our tradition but come together? We want to support one another and be physically present. And that's so much of what our Jewish tradition is about, is helping one another in challenging times, and the loss of somebody is really one of the most challenging times of all. So our sages in Ecclesiastes, or our sages quote the book of Ecclesiastes, and they say it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to a celebration. For from the house of mourning we can learn a lesson. The sages were commenting on the fact that some people see life as a great banquet hall. They desire only to experience life's pleasures and attempt to run away from every thought of death. But Judaism would have us believe that only those who understand the brevity of life can live a full and a meaningful and a true life. So what we do in a Jewish funeral is we read various psalms and prayers to connect our loved one to the Jewish tradition and to our history. So we think of Beverly, and her passing was on the 11th of Iyar in this interesting time on the Jewish calendar. We are currently counting the Omer, working our way from Passover to Shavuot. And in a couple days, we'll reach the 33rd day, Lag BaOmer, which is a day of semi-celebration. Right now, we remain in these intermediate days, which remind us of the students of Rabbi Akiva. Had a great plague come upon them, and so many of them were lost. And yet, what did Rabbi Akiva do? He continued to teach, and he continued to share Torah, and to live his life the best that he could. And Beverly was somebody who, even with hardship and even with so many challenges in her health in recent years, she had a spirit that would not give up, that she overcame and overcame and overcame, and it's only in these last few months that she's really had such a challenge to her spirit. But even in those times, she saw her friends and saw that love and brought goodness into this world. So it says in the 18th Psalm, Im chased titchased, im gavar tamim titamam. With the loyal God you deal loyally, with the pure you are pure. You deliver lowly folk, and haughty eyes you humble. You light my lamp, God. You light up my darkness. With you I can rush a barrier. With my God I can scale a wall. Ha'el tamim darko amras Adonai tzrofa magen hu lechol halkim bo. The ways of God are perfect. The word of Adonai is pure. Magen. God is a shield to all who seek refuge. A psalm that is familiar to so many, the 23rd Psalm. Mizmor leDavid. Adonai ro'i lo asag. Mino deshen yarbitzeni almei menuchot yancholeni. Nafshi yeshovev yanchani b'magle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elach b'geit salmaver lo irara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha chema yankamuni nachtarog lefanai shulchan neged torai. Dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yudafuni kol yemei chayai. V'shafti b'veit Adonai le'orech gamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me, O Lord. Your rod and staff comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of God forever. And for me, the line that has always that started out with puzzlement and led to peace for me, that we say, Ki ata imadi, that God is with us. Shiftecha umishantecha yencha Yanachamuni, that God's rod and staff give us comfort. We talk about comforting mourners, Nechum Avelim, giving them support. But so how would a rod and a staff give us support? Well, if we think back to the time of King David and we think back to the time of the Psalms, the rod, the staff, the seal, those might be the equivalent of your cell phone and your car keys. And so for God to say, I'm leaving you my cell phone and car keys, God's saying, I'm walking the dog around the block. God's saying, I'm in the backyard. I didn't go, I'm not leaving you. I'm not abandoning you. You may not feel me in this exact moment, but you will feel me, you will know me again very soon. And I think about the stories that I heard about Beverly. So unfortunately, while once a member of our community, I did not know her in the short time that I've been in St. Petersburg. She was someone whose presence was felt. That when she was there, when she was in the room, she was the light of the room. The one who would gather people around her and bring joy and happiness to so many. Kirachem av al banim, Richam Adonai al yira'av. As a parent has compassion for children, God has compassion for us. God knows how we are fashioned, remembers that we are dust. The days of mortals are like grass, they flourish as the flowers of the field. A wind passes over them and they are no more, and no one can know where they grew. But God's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children, to all the reverent ones, endures age after age, unchanging. From Psalm 103. We speak in the book of Ecclesiastes that there is a time for everything. L'chol zman va'et l'chol chafetz tachat hashamayim. For every experience under heaven. Eit laledet v'eit lamut, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to love and a time even for hate, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. I don't think I ever thought that I would know what a time was to refrain from embracing. And yet in this moment, we are all in that eight. We are all in that time. And for someone who is as personable and kind and caring as Beverly, this time was so incredibly challenging. To refrain from embracing was against her very nature. It wasn't who she was, and it made those last weeks of her life even more challenging. A time for dancing, and a time for crying, a time for speaking, and a time for silence. A time for seeking, and a time for losing. In the book of Proverbs, King Solomon spoke about a woman of valor. Eshet chayil me'imsa v'rachok mimni mirabatach ve'levara v'shalev lo yechsar k'maltuto ve'lo rak u'leme'ayecha kapa parsha le'ani v'edecha shilcha levron שקר החן והבל היופי שירת אדוני יהיתי צלב תנו לעם בפריעתך והללוך בשערים מעשיה. Charm can seem deceitful or beauty vain, but a woman who supports her family, her community, her God is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. And when I was talking to Jeffrey and Barbara the other day, what I heard was that wherever she was, her deeds were praised. That that if you would meet someone she just met, they would say what a wonderful and what a kind and what an amazing woman she was. That her love and inspiration was felt, her wisdom and kindness was felt wherever she was. So in the book of Genesis, chapter 24, verse 1, it speaks of our father Abraham. And it says that Abraham zaken ba b'yamim, that he was old and advanced in years. And in the Bereshit Rabbah, Midrashic commentary on Genesis, Rabbi Acha says, Yesh lecha adam, there are some people that have zikna, they have the wisdom of old age, the dignity of old age, the eino b'yamim, but they don't have the long life. They don't have the many days. B'yamim ve'eino zikna, and there are people that have long lives, but they don't have that dignity that comes from wisdom and advanced years. Aval khan zikna keneged yamim ve'yamim keneged zikna. But in the case of Abraham, the dignity of age coincided with the long life. Now, her life wasn't long enough for us, but she was blessed to live a good life. She was blessed to be a part of the lives of so many people here in St. Petersburg and so many people around the world. I want to share a few words. So it says in the book of Proverbs that the human spirit is the light of God. That within each and every one of us, God gives us a divine spark, and each of us has the obligation to tend this spark, to fan it into a flame that will light up our own life and the lives of others. Now we know that a candle can be put out or it can burn out, but a candle can also light other candles. And when that flame, wait a moment for the flame. When that flame is passed on to others, it continues to burn long after the first candle has gone out. The light of Beverly's soul will remain bright in all who knew her. You know, it's not easy to officiate at a funeral, to try to memorialize someone, and especially when you haven't had the opportunity to know them personally. But after talking with Jeffrey and Barbara, I had a picture of her. She was someone I wish that I had known. She was smart and kind, a wonderful mother, a light to all those around her. And after the loss of her beloved husband, George, she didn't just sit at home, but continued to cultivate the friendships that she was known for. A people person. Anyone who met her, and even in her last days, the nurses argued over who could care for her, because they so enjoyed being in her presence. Her gift of gab sustained friendships for decades. While some might have one or two close friends, she had long friendships with so many. She cared deeply for others and saw the best in them. And Jeffrey spoke about being a quieter soul, that when he would visit, he'd want to spend time with just her. But she wanted him to know everybody, to know all of her many friends, and wherever he went, he heard about how wonderful his mom was, how wonderful your mom was. Her love wasn't just limited to her friends. She loved her children. She loved her husband, George, and his children became hers. Bonnie and Ellen and Bob were so important to her, and her grandchildren brought her great joy. Together, they ran a small insurance agency for many years, and together, they demonstrated Jewish values for their children. They were honest and upright in business. They taught their children the importance of studying, of getting a good education, working slowly towards goals, to live a life of meaning. And importantly, they showed the value of supporting those who were less fortunate, of making tzedakah, justice, charity, a central practice of their lives. And while she might not have practiced her faith in traditional ways, her desire serious person, she and George weren't afraid to have fun. They might make a small bet at the dog track or enjoy the entertainment of Las Vegas. In their more, businessly successful years, they traveled Europe and even Japan with friends. And wherever they went, there were dear friends. She worked hard to cultivate those friendships. She was dear and devoted. She loved to send gifts and flowers, and she had a calendar where she kept every person's birthday, every person's anniversary, their special occasions. And with her friends, she'd organize group dinners and celebrations, bringing joy to all those dear to her. In synagogues around the world this Shabbat, we'll be reading from the book of Leviticus from Parshat and more. We're reading the holiness code, the special rules for the Kohanim, the priests, and the laws and the importance of the holidays. But amidst that conversation, we see Aaron, the high priest, lighting the lights of the Holy Tabernacle. When we meet some people, you can tell that they're filled with God's light. And while I didn't have the privilege of knowing Beverly, it seems clear to me that she was one of those people. And that light is one that can never be extinguished. It's light reflected from God. And in death, that spirit and that light returns to God. Beverly's memory will be a blessing. If you're in a position to rise, I'll ask you to do so. Beverly Shalom, Dochali Olama, Beganin Temnokata, Ana Balarachani, Masirecha Beseter Konsecha Olamim, Otror Betorcha, Yemenish Patadana Nachlata, Betanach Shalama Mishra, El Male Rachamim, God filled with compassion. Give infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of our beloved. She has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. So at this point in the service, we pause for a moment. And in the Jewish tradition, one of the greatest acts of loving kindness is to bury our dead. And in normal circumstances, we would take a shovel and each person would take a turn helping to do this great mitzvah. Because this command is one that is entirely loving kindness. If I invite you over for dinner, you can invite me for dinner. If I help you in a time of need, you can help me in my time of need. But when we bury the dead, there is no expectation of return. This is entirely a gift of love. And we see this as emulating God. That God, when we have the Torah, opened the Torah with acts of loving kindness by creating the world, by giving Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, clothing. And God closed the Torah with an act of great chesed, an act of gimlut chasadim, of compassion and loving kindness, when God buried Moshe in the land of Moab. It was not that God said, you bury him. It was that God's self. And so we see this to this day, that the act of burying is following in the metaphorical footsteps of God. That we are working to bring holiness and divine light. So I'm going to turn this way. The way we're doing things in the moment is to take the cup. time, we say Alma Kamo, Tavo V'Shalom. May she go into God in peace. The 121st Psalm. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from harm, your going and your coming, now and forever. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God. May Beverly's soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. Send comfort, Adonai, to those who mourn, grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. Let us say, Amen.
Amen.
And for those who would like to join me in saying Kaddish, Yitkadal, V'yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah,
Amen.
V'yalma, Divrach, Rotei, V'yamlech Malchutei, V'kayekol, V'yamlechol, V'kayekol, Beit Yisrael, B'gala, V'izman Kariv, V'yamru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, Le'olam Olamei Olmaya, Yiparach, V'yishabach, V'yita'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei Dikusha, Brifu. La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, temeran v'yoma v'imru. Amen. Yehesh lamaraba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yalko Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'rama, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yalko Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
So at this point, we would normally conclude the service and surround the family with love, to allow them to walk in between two rows. And so I'm going to unmute for just a moment so we can all just quickly say our condolences. Hamakom yanachem etchem. May you be comforted among all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. I thank you. I'm sorry, Jeff? I was just saying that we are expressing our condolences to you at this point.